Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining me, and everybody else here on stage for our daily AMA. I thought we would try out something a little bit different and give a direct opportunity for some of our active members within our Discord server to just come up on stage, talk to us live, just like we do with anybody else. Kind of change the pace. There are some things that I kind of want to talk about and announce before we kind of just get into like a little discussion time. Um, First and foremost, I'd like to thank EJ from EverReflect joining me this evening. Welcome, EJ.
Why, thank you for having me, sir.
Always, man, always.
I wanted to do
Um,
the little heart thing, but I forgot that's only on Twitter Space. But I'm sending you a little visual emoji heart right now.
are you sending me this telepathically?
Well,
Like,
yeah, because I wish that I could have it come up on the screen right now, but because I can't, so everybody in your head envision me sending a heart, and it's going to Meta Captain right
thank
now.
you. I really appreciate that. I feel the love. And thank you everybody else for taking the opportunity to experiment with this like unique uh, idea here. And oh my gosh, MetaMat Hatter, what's up, man? I'm so sorry to break flow, but how are you doing? Are you able to actually talk?
Yeah, I'm doing better.
Awesome, dude. Awesome. I love you, man. All right, back to business. So. Um, yeah, I thought it would be a good opportunity. A lot of our discussion is going to be based around our NFT updates for MBC, as far as the news that I want to share with everybody. Uh, and as well, I'm working on a lot of really exciting NFT production with EJ here from EverReflect, both cross project too. So first and foremost, we will be coming out with our public NFT line Monday, the 7th. Yes, Monday, the 7th. It'll probably be later in the evening that we actually open it up to the public because I will still be working through giving airdrops to all of the pre-sale holders that held their bags since the time of our pre-sale all the way till now. Either they held the same amount or they purchased more, but either way, they have at least that balance to their name. So they're actually going to receive the first run of mints, and we have figured out that number to be 55. So the first 55 mints will go to those pre-sale holders, and then I will mint an additional 10 myself for giveaways, taking the mint number up to 65, and then the first publicly available mint will be number 66. And again, I'll post exact times on that for everyone as I'll get it out there just so everybody knows when they can go over to the website, click a button, and go ahead and take theirs in. How do I get my 361 tattooed asked a question real quick. I'm gonna show it and just answer it before I get distracted about other stuff. Needs help getting the coins back from the staking pool. So if it's been 30 days, whenever you go to the staking pool, it'll show you whenever you pull it up on Brew Labs and you're looking at your amount. It'll say your locked amount and it'll say zero. So to allow you to pull the full amount that you have. If it doesn't show zero, if it shows a number higher than that, that's because those are still locked. Okay, back to the NFT stuff real quick. Um, so along with our line that we're going to be coming out with available to the public on Monday, uh, that line itself is going to act as an official whitelist spot holder for any additional MBC branded line that comes out in perpetuity. So you'll always be able to participate in the whitelist for our additional lines if you have that NFT. That's not to say that every single person that holds that NFT will get a whitelist spot, just so we're very clear about this. We might not do another run of 2,000. I might do a limited run on something of 500 NFTs or maybe 10,000. If I do 10,000, everybody will probably get a spot. But if I do a 500 run, I can't obviously only resell them to the same community members. But I will only pre-sale a certain number of spots, and I'll leave that open to anybody who is holding a NFT and give them that ability to make that pre-sale purchase. Um, Okay, moving on from that, there are a couple other small benefits that you're going to receive with having the first initial PFP line from MBC, and a lot of those will be built around experiences. And we'll be talking a little bit later on this evening, and greater elaboration on what some of these experiences that you might be privy to by holding this NFT. But that's just another small additional benefit. And then as well, since the beginning, I've always made sure to let everybody know that when we include items into our ecosystem, I focus on an end of life cycle. So I don't want this PFP to be something that over time, other than its let's just be clear, other than its superficial um, value of being able to get you the right to purchase other NFTs or to join in-game meta experiences. Outside of that, it's fairly superficial. We will have the ability to recycle back down your NFT into a set value. Sorry. So that will be done through our NFT claw machine. Um, that is code for just like a special breakdown contract. But as well, it will actually be an in-game experience for the MBC lobby. And I'll elaborate more on that as we get closer to that experience. So as well, I know we've talked about that before, but I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that even that first line will be included in that recycle program. So it will set at least a base value. The exact base value, I think that we have it written up as $20, but at the very least, we'll be able to recycle back down to $20 worth of MBC that you can then apply to a different NFT or just pull directly back out. Alrighty. So now that we can talk about some other really exciting things, EJ over here is kind of leading the way on the push for making an NFT ticket viable within the DeFi ecosystem. We already have fairly well planned out initiatives to actually work out the back end structure on how like the fiat onboarding and the actual crypto blockchain engagement will work. So this is something that's not like pie in the sky far down the road. This is something that we're going to be able to implement and start beta testing here in just a few weeks. We're going to start getting that rolling, sharing those experiences with everybody. And I would like to give EJ the opportunity to just kind of touch base quickly on what he's already been working on as far as his partners with those experiences, those real world experiences.
Yeah, and actually it's funny how the snowball effects, with the two of us kind of working together, because we've been very fortunate to be able to spend a lot of time on the phone and be able to chat through the workings and the concepts of this. And because of your talents and everything that we already kind of have in place as far as the relationships for entertainment, I mean, it's one, I think is amazing because it's going to end up expediting the timeline that we put in place for third quarter. But it was your inspiration that it was like, all right, hey, we can start this beta testing. And so we have confirmed and actually have the tickets already that we can start minting for Gilmore Car Museum, which is in Kalamazoo. I'll actually share that link. It's pretty cool. It's the largest car museum, classic car museum actually in the country.
So I've
And
heard you talk about this like 3 times, and all you honestly have to say for me is Kalamazoo, and I'm like, I'm in for
oh
sure.
yeah, Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, that's so cool. So uh, Ken, who's I'm not name dropping. It's just that these are actually like friends and people that I worked with for a number of years. Their executive director. I mean, they have this place is amazing. It's seven massive. I guess you could call them like barns, but they're upgraded barns. I guess you could call it. It's a beautiful campus, and it's the largest classic car museum in the country. They actually have um, the first Model A that rolled off the line. That was it was Henry Ford's son that developed the Model A, I believe. I think it was Henry Ford Jr. or Henry Ford the third, and they gifted that to Thomas Edison. And so it's this one of a kind Model A, has serial number 1 that was gifted to Edison, that's like in their museum. And I even asked Ken the one day when I was on a tour, I was like, so what is like the value of that? And he's like, literally priceless, because
Yeah,
you
literally
couldn't
priceless.
you couldn't buy it. So it's just it. I would say that the value of the vehicles there, it's in the hundreds of millions, if not billions. But they partnered. They were like, yeah, I mean, from a director standpoint, these guys are so busy, and their ticketing platforms, as many people probably know, if you go to a museum or a water park, that it's not always necessarily the easiest ticketing platform that's built into their websites. Anyways, it's just basically a click through, put in your credit card, and then we email you a PDF. And for all the directors and festival planners that I'm talking to, they're like, so it's just going to be similar to a photo of the QR code to start. And I'm like, yes, like basically that's the most easy way for them to get the concept around an NFT is a picture, just like a picture of a QR code that's in your phone. So everybody's like, without a doubt, they're like, yep, just let us know the number of tickets. And so they're just going to be redeeming them the same way. What's different about it? It's like, nope, they will be redeeming them the same way. It's going to be kept in a crypto wallet, or in our case, it'll end up being the EverReflect app that is a wallet, but technically it's a ticketing app, right? Even though we're,
Correct. Well, like, and like, I swear to you, that's why I love it so much. It's just the simple fact that, like, without a doubt, it's so it's so easy to wrap your mind around it. I don't
right.
want it to be anything fancier than just a ticket at first. I think
Right.
it looking just like a ticket is what sells this, is what
Yeah.
makes this perfect.
Yep. And the cool thing is that's why you don't hear my language too often when I've referenced like the NFT ticketing platform, or a ticketing app as a wallet, even though that's what it is, because I think it's hard for some people outside of the crypto space to get their mind around like, oh, well, I need to get a wallet. Like, no, it's a ticketing app, but it is technically a crypto wallet. So they're
Yeah.
partnered. So we have those NFTs that we'll be minting in the next couple days, and then we'll start those focus groups for people to go out there. We do have it confirmed 100%. Also, the Frankenmuth 80s Festival, which same thing, PDFs, QR codes, and then also confirmed, which will be later in the summer, is the Bay City Rib Fest, or Rock and Rib Fest, that they're rebranding. So a lot of these festival planners are just looking for an easy platform that they don't they don't see yet the benefits of it being an NFT for security purposes or for metadata or for any of that stuff out of the gate. We're literally doing the same thing that they're utilizing now, and the adoption is so easy because they're like, okay, you give us an easier ticketing platform that just gives all the same benefits to what our consumers are using now. Yes, of course we'll use it. And I've said this to you, Chris. I don't know if I've said it on too many AMAs, but like, we have ticket platforms. With my festival association position now, I think I used six or seven different ticketing platforms last year alone in a down year. So whether that's RegFox, Event Hub, Eventbrite, there's I can't even think of them all, but there's so many of them. And these ticketing platforms are just for the individual festival planners or for the individual, say, venue locations to use to sell their own tickets. And I mean, whenever I've said it from the beginning that like this isn't supposed to be the most mind-blowing, shattering concept. We're just literally improving upon a space that we already know is being utilized a lot. I mean, if you just look at the number of entertainment tickets that are purchased around the country, and I'm not just talking concerts, like this is every ticketing source that you could think of. So it could be a live concert, obviously, but it could be a festival, it could be a museum, it could be anything like a water park, it could be amusement parks. The When you start really wrapping your mind around like how many different locations just use online ticketing now, especially since COVID, a ton of things have still gone digital. A ton of things that, you know, maybe a couple years ago they might not even be using Eventbrite or Regfox, but now they're implementing into their festivals nonstop because they want people to be able to have the ability to check in with their phone, so it's touchless. Like, I'm in Michigan, so Michigan is still a highly, we're not restricted right now, but during those couple of years we were a highly restricted state. Restricted so much that like for Michigan Fun magazine, we couldn't even distribute them because they didn't want people touching the magazine and then the potential of like contamination. So everything had to go mobile, and you could only check into locations with a mobile device to be able to scan, so it was touchless. So we're already adopting it because of COVID here in the state. So almost all the directors, and then just like a background as far as like my career, like being with the festival organizations, we represent 500 festivals here in the state alone. So that's festivals. In addition to just festivals, we also have 300 vendors, and those vendors can be anything from carnivals that tour around to destination locations such as golf courses or amusement parks or
Well, and so like that's like where I also just think about like because people have a hard time wrapping their heads around sometimes what a VR experience like can be, and
right,
like I'm somebody who I've done like I've done just the walkthrough experience and fully enjoyed it 1,000 times. So like what I mean by that is sometimes on occasion I will just throw on a headset and I'll take myself to a VR stream of somebody walking through New York City at night, just walking around. And they're not saying anything, but you just absorb the sound and you absorb the experience itself. It's like it transforms you to that place. As
right,
well, I've gone to like museums and stuff like that. So being able for you to provide those tickets, even to something like we were just talking about with like the going and to the oh my gosh, now I feel so bad. Let me go look at that chat to the Gilmore Car
oh
Museum,
right,
even something like that. Like even if they don't currently have a uh, a 360 feed of that experience, we'll just simply send somebody up there with a 360
camera,
GoPro cam
yep,
and have them literally walk the entire museum, soak everything in themselves. We can
yep,
edit that feed and then loop that feed into a lobby, into a small room that's a digital representation of that museum. So
right,
it's an actual lobby space where people can stand there and talk and maybe look at small VR models of things
right.
that exist in that museum, but as well go and actually view that experience all in the same space. Giving that ability to just bridge all of those things
Yeah.
together is really exciting.
Well, and it's so exciting that everybody that I'm speaking with, like I had 4 conversations this week with those 4 festivals, and then also the guys in Detroit that help run the Convention and Visitor Bureau. They call it the CVB in Detroit, but represents all of the casinos. And the same thing
Oh,
where,
that's cool.
yeah, so like Motor City Casino is something where we're going to they wanted to do a meetup potentially later this year, maybe next year. But the cool part is that all of these locations, especially if you get into the festival world, you're always looking at upselling. Like that's just a part of the festival experience. So yeah, we want you to buy the Friday day pass so that you upsell obviously to the 3-day pass, which then you can upsell to the VIP package. And once you have the VIP package, maybe you're going to buy a cabana. Like the concept of these festival planners, most of them already know they want to make the experience as good as possible, and they want to improve it every year because they know that's how they get basically the patrons coming in year after year. And we're going to be able to go into these locations with their approval. Like even with the NFT ticket beta testing, everybody's been like, yes, that'd be awesome, we would love it. And you're going to be able to support our organization because you're bringing people to our locations. But that same concept of upselling will be so simple because we can go in and beta test that same concept of the lounges and letting people come into a 360 virtual experience for these locations that you can't get by just viewing it on a laptop. It's not even going to be close to the same.
Well, and just from like that ticket model perspective, and obviously we're live here, but I love just talking openly, transparently with the community. And I know me and you just talked like just shooting around ideas. Imagine just being able to like introduce like the golden ticket option to any of those like festival events. So the NFT mint price itself per NFT might be like slightly higher for this higher tier. But if you buy into that tier, you're automatically entered into like a raffle to win a free cabana or something like that.
Right.
And that's like it'll be randomly applied to one of those NFTs that are minted through that tier.
Yep.
Yeah. So just real quick, anybody here from what we've just talked about loosely, do any of you guys see any like uh-oh moments, like problems with just the idea of what we're talking about? Something that might be a hindrance as far as being able to quickly and easily onboard fiat, purchase a ticket through an EverReflect app that is an NFT itself, and then within that same app, using that ticket at a venue somewhere. So what I'm asking here is, does anybody see where this might not work or anything like that?
This is just a silly question, but do you need a dedicated internet line? Like, let's say, you got the ticket on your phone, but your internet on your phone isn't working. Is that going to affect the NFT or the entry or anything like that?
So I can take a quick answer to this. No, provided it is based on that system. So like realistically, most of the venues aren't going to be set up for on-chain verification. All the venue is set up for is ticket barcode scan. Is this in our database? Is this barcode in our database? Does it fit this number? That's literally all they're set up for, like a serial number essentially. So that's all available offline on your NFT. That's where you still have to treat your digital ticket just as securely as you always treated your other digital tickets.
Right.
It's not a fancy NFT that you're sharing here. That's why it's not a piece of artwork that you're going to post online and share with people that could maybe try to re-replicate or steal that somehow. You're not going to be doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you'll treat it the same way you would any other digital ticket that you purchase. EverReflect will offer you some fancy artwork NFTs that you can show off to people. But as far as these tickets go, the early betas especially, the system itself is going to work the exact same way it works now. Down the road, I'm sure, hopefully, if they're smart, they'll do on-chain verification. And at that point, you would want to have an internet connection, but that vendor would provide you with a Wi-Fi.
And that's the cool part about where this is going to be real world application and an easy process, because the adoption it's almost a poor choice of words, because even though it is adoption, it's literally doing the exact same thing. So you will have the NFT version similar to like the Thanksgiving Day football game this year for the Lions. Like they gave away NFT ticket
I did
versions.
not watch it.
I know, right? Who goes see the Lions? I do still. So you guys can all just you can just take a seat.
No, so the VR dev is actually like a diehard Lions fan.
Oh, I love it.
Randomly.
Good. But the same thing where for early adoption of this, the transition, this is very similar to what we've seen this past 2 years. In a quick example for our magazine for MichiganFund.com. We produce a 40-page magazine every 4 months. During COVID, we also started producing a digital version on Publitus, which it's cool. You can view it digitally on a website or on your phone. You can flip the pages. There's so many people that attend events or attend locations that not everybody's at the same, I guess, level of like adoption curve. Some people want to use the digital magazine. Some people want still the hard physical magazine. So there will be a transition period for adoption into the marketplace where we'll still have to have, like Chris said, basically the PDF version of the NFT still. So you have to treat it with security, but that's good for the venues because then they can still have the smooth check-in process. You still have the NFT, and then that offers us, once we end up getting it adopted, all the additional securities of verifying on the blockchain, all the aspects Chris is talking about with metadata, and all the other things that will be a benefit for security, counterfeiting, and then, which we haven't even gotten into, the concept of royalties, that it can go back to the original ticket seller or ticket minter and a royalty on the resale value on the secondary market that can bridge a little bit of that gap between a Ticketmaster and a StubHub, that everybody knows that there's a massive gap for highly attended events or highly sought after tickets from a Ticketmaster pre-sale price to a StubHub final sale price. Almost, it's similar in a lot of ways to what we see with like crypto and with launches.
I think too, and I don't want to like really touch too much on this because I don't know this industry, but I would be willing to bet, again, just an assumption, that there's a lot of artists out there that have special unique contract deals that have to do directly with like revenue share from shows themselves, depending on what they like produce. And in time, hopefully, if everybody was adopting all of this at the same time, that would become automated. And like that's where like that's where I get like super excited about things because I'm like, it's the way it should be. Like, that's the only way it should be. It should be peer to peer, decentralized, automated. If that um artist has a contract that dictates such, then that venue is provided those terms. Those terms are then dictated to you, the like uh, ticket provider for the promotion company, because the promotion company, I'm guessing, is agreeing to those terms, and then they provide those terms to you. You fulfill those terms within your automated contract for the NFT itself, and there you go. It's set in
Right.
stone. You can't break those terms. There you go.
And you're spot on, because like when you start getting to the upper echelons and you're talking like you know a a Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, or a Garth Brooks, or a U2, something that's on the massive, going to sell out this tour level, those contracts are written with something called the back end. So you'll always have a guarantee for a larger artist. So say that guarantee is 100,000, or say in the case of like some of these artists that do 20 dates in 20 different US cities, they'll have a guarantee of say like 200,000 with an 80% back end split after expenses. So that 80% back end split becomes very, very critical because you have to hit a threshold of tickets being sold. If you sell out, then the number's basically maxed out and you know exactly where it's at because you've sold out the arena for say $1 million, let's say, because 10,000 tickets sold out. the issue becomes is that $1 million is really closer to say $6 million or $7 million on the secondary market, because front row tickets, the way it's lined up right now, you have to basically sell them at $200. And this is getting to large scale, way down the road, talking about contracts with Live Nation and with Ticketmaster. But yes, the revenue share is a very, very big part, even on some of the smaller shows at venues of like 2,000 people at like a Fillmore in Detroit or Fillmore West. They would do the same thing, give an artist a $10,000 guarantee and then a split of the back end after expenses. It happens all the time in the entertainment business.
Interesting.
Sorry, just to follow up on that, just a quick question. Let's say, for example, you get the deals with Ticketmaster, StubHub, all that. Let's say Metallica is doing a 10-city tour. First city, New York. Second city, Chicago. Third city, Atlanta. Right? Is it possible that after the show, that the NFT ticket, so what's become the stub, like it might have something like, it might play a clip of one of the songs from that show, or then the New York one might play, a different song or something like that. Is that something that happens?
It could.
Now, I'll say like the coolest thing that I've seen so far, and pardon me for not knowing the name of the band, and I feel like such a dummy right now. I always forget these key details whenever I'm telling these little anecdotes. But there is a band that's fairly popular. I know the band, I just can't think of the name. They put out their album. They only released so many as an NFT. But if you did buy that NFT album, then you were entitled to a VIP experience at a concert. And what that actually means is they will truly send a limo to pick you up and take you to the concert from your hotel. So you have to be like in a hotel within so many miles of the venue itself. But as long as you are in a hotel within so many miles of that venue, they will send a limousine, pick you up, take you to the venue. You then get to hang out with the staff hang out with the band or whatever,
Right.
and then and then go back about your night. So I guess my answer to that question is the world is your oyster. You can attach whatever terms you want to it per se.
Yep. And going back onto that, even on a smaller scale, because obviously we're going to be rolling this out, within realistic terms and expectations to be met.
I want a limo, EJ.
Right. But like some of the regional sized artists, like guys that are kind of like, still cutting their teeth in say Nashville, because we're going to be going to Nashville in July, and I have a number of meetings that'll be set up with just a few of the like regional sized country artists. But like a gentleman named John King, I've been emailing, and he's a good buddy as well that we just chat all the time, and he gets the concept because he's a little bit younger than I am. So he likes the idea of the NFTs because he knows that it's kind of almost a marketing thing that a lot of people are seeing, whether it's on Twitter or whether it's at Coachella, right? But the idea of being able to have like a personalized lounge for some of his like dedicated, not groupies, but groupies that are the more ardent fans. And that's something that you would only have access with the metadata that you're going to be able to incorporate in after the fact of you went to the live show, say the live show was in Detroit, and then a month later that he posts out on his Twitter account, like, hey, if you attended one of my concerts in the last month, we're going to do a virtual lounge, but you only have access because you had the NFT ticket. Very feasible. And I think for Chris and I have talked about this before, that like that size artist, those fans are super passionate because they feel like they're kind of in on something early. Kind of sounds like crypto again. And they are just so passionate because they want to be the ones that are, I saw John when there was only 200 people. And then I saw John when there was 1,000 people. And then I finally saw John once he was headlining Faster Horses. Like that's the kind of stuff that we really can take advantage of because they're already passionate about their artist. So we're almost not even selling the idea of a crypto space. You're helping to help the artist or the promoter or the event or the venue to add additional experiences to their customers and their patrons that are already attending their events.
EJ, can you hear me?
Yep, for sure.
Hey, I'm just spitballing an idea here, but I wonder if a future evolution of something would be to not only have the NFT ticketing for the live events, but actually have independent artists that aren't signed to record labels actually release their albums on your platform as an NFT, almost to where it not like you're a record label, but like almost kind of. Would that be something that could even be an application of it?
Well, I mean, Chris can speak to this a little bit more highly about everything that can be encapsulated. But yeah, in the sense of like if it gave you access to like the album, for sure, because then it's basically already tied in with the NFT and it takes you to the asset or the music library that's being released. And that's the cool part about this, is that it's given everybody understands the idea that that a digital asset can be really cool as an NFT, but all the things that you can do with tying information to that NFT after the fact, we're going to see so many creative people looking at this concept and being like, okay, it's awesome that it's digital art, but all the other aspects that we can tie in after the event, before the event, even with keeping updates about like what the artist is doing, like you said, with an album release, I think we're going to see so much creativity that we're not even thinking about yet come into the fold, because more and more creative people that are artistic already have ideas that will probably blow us away.
Well, that's what I was thinking. It could be like a one-stop shop. You could have a stable of artists that you released all their albums for as an NFT, and then you do all their events as NFT tickets for any show that they do. So it would almost be like a one-stop shop for the platform.
So
Or
to even so to even answer that further, I would like to see it even like better. So I would love to see it if you could have your choice of claiming that NFT as a digital album. So the NFT essentially would act like as a voucher or a promo code. So you would then claim it directly from Apple or from any other source that it is already available. And even if that's like an indie source of some sort. And or it'd be really, really cool if that NFT could act as like a manufacturer coupon that just gave back the value of like a standard um retail price of the album. So like, you cover like I don't know how much like albums and CDs and stuff go for nowadays. I'm sure CDs don't sell, but I know vinyls have came back. So I'm sure like vinyl whatever presses, I don't know what you call it, but a vinyl record, I'm sure that costs like $20. Maybe you just have like a manufacturer coupon to cover that cost of that. That would be really cool. I'm sure that's possible. As far as like business wise, I know it's possible technically, and
Right.
how easily you could do that and facilitate that like within the app and within the store. All that's easily done. Fiating that, like, using the fiat for even purchase it, you could still do it there. Business wise, working those deals out would be like, your specialty.
And the cool part about this is that like we talk about utility tokens, because that's what we are. And it's like, well, how do you become a utility? And we hear about all these things that I talk about that are ideas, and they're great ideas. All right. I'm not trying to downplay any other projects as far as what utilities they focus on, because they're absolutely needed. You need wallets, you need launch pads, you need NFT marketplaces. All that stuff is glorious. But really, when we're being honest about it, it lives in a BSC bubble. That unless you're kind of already in the crypto space and that you're already kind of trading these utility tokens, you might not know how to utilize a staking platform on Brew Labs. It's not common knowledge. You have to kind of be down the rabbit hole a little bit to get to that point. The idea with an NFT ticket can open up that, and I talk about market share all the time, but like the market share and the captive audience of people that will be able to utilize this that don't have to be in the BSC bubble. And then if they get the concept of like,
one second, EJ. Me and you talk way too much. Lorian has a good question.
Okay,
Lorian,
sorry.
You're fine. Morgan, what's your question?
So I had a question that went specific with the VR ticketing experiences. So somebody like me, I love to travel. However, unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to go to Michigan and see the car museum. But that's something, I'm not sure. Every business is a little bit different, but I imagine that they don't allow regular filming inside of there. So I would want, I'd be willing to pay for that experience. Is that kind of how it will work? Because, that's a huge revenue opportunity um, for for that
Yeah,
museum in particular. Or I'm a Bears fan. I haven't been to Soldier Field since I was a kid. I'd be willing to pay, 50, $60 or more to do a walkthrough through something like that. So is that kind of how it'll work?
yeah, that's exactly how it works. So there's like there's kind of two parts to that. So as far as doing like an actual production for getting the VR experience laid out, you actually need a little bit of private time, especially in those crowd spaces, in order to get the right captures and filming. So like you might edit those in to a crowd scene, but as far as like giving the experience and laying it all out, that way somebody can go and they can view it, you'll actually need a little bit of time in the space to get the right captures of each individual like art piece and stuff. So more than likely, if they don't have that available, which some do, some places have already laid this groundwork because it's like over the course of COVID, especially a lot of museums and especially the real big name ones, they already did stuff like this and opened it up to the public for free. So they've already filmed and laid out their exhibits within VR spaces, and you can go and experience that now, either through just YouTube or directly through an application available on like a headset, Quest, or Steam. That being said, a lot of these smaller enterprises don't have them, and even large ones as well don't have those things. But you do need a little bit of private time. So what you do is you literally like work the deal out to where you rent the space out for an hour or 2 hours. And with that, explain to them that you need to be doing some filming for a production that you're doing, and you'll have to pay for like media rights and stuff like that. And sometimes there's certain exhibits and stuff that they're just not going to allow you to film, dependent on whether or not that's an exhibit that's drawing a large crowd during that time period and stuff. And they do count on that in-person revenue. So, you got to be respectful of all business models. But outside of that, you'll find that just asking and working with a lot of these people, they're willing and happy to do so. Like you said, for a lot of those smaller places, you're never even going to hear about them or have the chance to travel just to do that. It's something that we would all love to do. I have a million small little places that I would love to go and see, but having the time to actually dedicate to going there to do that when I have to usually be going somewhere else to do something else, it's just not practical. So, and they know that from like the business standpoint. And if there is a way to generate revenue on both sides, um, I'm sure they would love to do so. So if it's like a ticketed event, like something that we're going to want you to pay for, it's going to need to be a high production quality. So they need to give us access to do that. And if they can do that in return, what we would do for business for them, of course, would be to actually pay them in perpetuity with the revenue split from those ticketings.
And I love the idea, like we talked about before, just like ideas of like rocket launches or one-off like experiences that are just taking place in somewhere in the country that you might not see. You think about like that solar eclipse that happened just a few years ago. Like even if it's just things that are like that you could only see it if you were, say, I think it was like even in like the middle portion, like Tennessee or Kentucky, but you couldn't see it in Michigan. Like I think that those open up the possibilities for planetariums, for museums, for so many, even like you could start going down the path of educational experiences into the classroom. Like there's so many aspects of this that as it becomes more commonplace and doesn't seem too technologically advanced for some people to be in a VR space. It's going to be more well adopted. And we already see it with younger generations. You know, I'm 40 years old, and I already talked to my brother's boys who, you know, can be between 8 and 13 years old, and they get the idea because they've been playing Fortnite for so long that they're like, oh, that makes sense. It's like a skin, but like even in a virtual reality space, they will get the idea of being able to go to locations for an educational road trip with their classmates in a VR space. It's just it's a matter of who's going to be able to be in the space, build it, and then have the connections to be able to make sure it's implemented correctly. And as we know with the DeFi space, to do it in a legitimate grounded foundation format so that it can be adopted by the general public as a trusted source.
No, absolutely. And I like the idea of giving away experiences like that for free. It might be like an NFT ticket still, or it might just be
Right.
that you have to hold some Ever Reflect or you have to hold some MBC. But having that and giving that experience to them, like a rocket launch, for instance, even if we have to pay something out of our pockets to send somebody there to set up or something like that, I'm
Yeah.
fine with doing that. And
Same.
just
And I
yeah,
think we both and all of our teams all align with that idea. If I mean, education is obviously an important part for our lives, and we don't say that just in regards to DeFi. We say that in regards to all aspects of life. And the more that you can actually spread something like that, I just think it would be an amazing. Like, we haven't even announced this yet, but we're going to be gifting actually some tokens to a school that's going to be. Um, they're going to be accepting them, and they're going to be so excited about it. Like, how cool is that they're going to already be accepting Ever Reflect tokens as a donation from one of our community members, and then down, you know, in a few weeks and months that we could even introduce them as a virtual reality experience for those kids in that classroom. Like, I get
yeah,
excited about that idea.
that is a cool idea. What's
Chris,
going on, Adam?
sorry.
Oh, sorry. What was that, Dirty?
Oh, I had a quick question for you, Chris. As far as like the live events go and the experiences, now I may be completely insane with this idea, and if I am, please tell me. But do you have to use 360-degree cameras for it to be for VR, or can you incentivize people with maybe their own equipment to maybe do walkthroughs of specific events or museums or zoos or something like that, and then that be able to be uploaded to where it could be onboarded to VR? To where you wouldn't have to necessarily, pay a production crew to set up like a 360 camera. If that's an insane idea, please tell me.
It's an insane idea. So what it boils down to, image processing is just not there. I'm assuming what you're talking about is taking like many different feeds and sparsing together a 360 view. We just that processing, as far as I'm aware, is not capable. Now I will say that there are things that people do as far as just like filming regular film
Right,
set
that's
videos,
what I meant. That's
and
what I meant.
then
Like it's just a set view of them. It wouldn't necessarily be like 360, but it could still document like in a place or something. It just obviously wouldn't be 360, but it would be like a walk along tour kind of thing.
so and yeah, and people do that, and like that is whenever you're in VR and you're experiencing that. I like to say that it's better than you would experience it viewing it on like your television or your laptop. I really do believe that. That being said, the difference between that and actually having no peripheral cutoff, so like you can actually turn your head in VR and you're actually seeing a new view and seeing a new angle, that level of immersion is like just as a level of like quality standard is what I would always be trying to deliver. So like if I had a 2D view of like a museum or something, that instead of being an experience, you would be watching that on a monitor. So like it would I could include that in a lounge, like for instance, Crypto Atlas is in here right now. I plan on having him his own little room lounge in VR, and like you'll be able to watch his YouTube videos. And it's not like you're gonna go into his video. You're literally just be watching them on a large screen in front of like a TV or in front of like a fireplace or something like that. Same thing here. So like if a museum could only offer that because logistically we can't get somebody out there, but they do have that footage available. We could like immediately include that into their lounge. That way, it was an informative like sector within their space, within our space, if they were a participating partner of some level. Sorry, long-winded answer. I'm really good at doing that. All right, so real quick, well, first off, welcome Atlas. Nice to have you join us.
Hello.
Really cool thing. I don't know how Atlas can you talk about anything about your NFTs?
Sure, I could talk on it just a little bit. So
Yeah, let's just say
some
a
things,
little bit.
yeah, there's some things that I'll wait to reveal more information on, but I'm building out an NFT series right now that I plan to have limited to 10,000 for the supply. And I don't want to just release visual art. So I've been doing some extensive research. I've been talking with Chris, getting things just kind of lined up. So the plan is that what I roll out ultimately, I want to be able to have as a byproduct a reward mechanism so that people can be earning actual crypto rewards. So not only would the art itself add value over time through its own intrinsic principles, the mix and matching, as we see commonly with these NFT series and different rarities, but there would actually be a reward that gets passively rewarded to you over weeks or months or years, or depending on the extent of the project that I'm looking into, it very well feasibly could be indefinite. So it's something very interesting. And then potentially the combination with a video game. I'm trying to find a production company that can provide the quality of what I'm looking for, try and get some estimates, possibly look at trying to do some crowdfunding and have that also be tied in with the NFTs. And then a fractional of each NFT sale could go and show support for two specific charitable causes. I've been working on trying to secure these partnerships with these two companies, and it's an ongoing thing. But the artwork itself, I've got ready to go. It's just about figuring out the code, securing the partnerships, establishing the website, and moving on to the next phase.
Very cool, very cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, and like there's so much more to it. I can't wait till you just release everything. So real quick, I want to kind of ask everybody a couple of real questions, a couple of quick questions. I'm gonna skip over EJ because I don't think that his answer will be nice. Let's
I've
go
talked.
with let's go with Dustin. Dustin, what is the one thing that you look forward to coming from MetaBUSDCoin? Are you looking forward to like, sorry, I'll let you answer. What are you most looking forward to?
What you originally set out, the VR marketplace. Even went out and got a VR headset to join in on all of this stuff.
So that's awesome. So you personally paid out of pocket $300 just to make sure that you're ready to participate in our space.
So I can be beta testing and bug testing and doing all that. And I will say I didn't understand VR whatsoever, how it was ever going to be a thing. The stuff that you would talk about, I just didn't understand it until I actually got one and slipped it on, and now I 100% get it.
Oh yeah, I tell people that all the time. Like it sucks because it really is something that's hard to like translate to somebody. Um, and that you just have to try it. You just have to do it yourself. You got to give it a shot. You got to see where we are right now, and like just think about where you know it can go from where it is now. The limiting factors on where it is now is not even like money. It's literally about adoption. We have poor quality headsets in everybody's hands just because we know that we want to fit all these certain criteria markers that make it easier to mass adopt. And what I mean by that is we're the hands-free headsets that are also untethered, no wires, no PC, all encompassed, all enclosed. The Oculus, the Pico, these headsets are essentially high-end phones that are just running these VR experiences. So you're only going to be able to accomplish so much out of them. But like, even that being said, here in a few years, the new tensor chips that are in like all the newest smartphones now, those chips right now are really expensive. But here in like 2 or 3 years, those chips are going to be really, really cheap. And the possibilities that are going to come around from there is something that I'm really looking forward to. I can't get into like too much of the technicals, or I could talk all night. But when you get into like procedural generated rooms and lobbies, the the actual computing power that we're working with right now is really minimal, and like these new tensor chips will really push the envelope on what we're capable of doing. Anyways, so same question to I can't ever say your name. I'm just gonna call you Crypto Miner because I don't know how to pronounce Metaworks or Metaworks.
It's the WRX, the car. So, for me, I only invest in what I believe in. And this was a unique experience, coming off of a pre-sale into a blind wallet, went against everything I actually try to do when looking into a project. But Mobile Trades is a great person, and I trust him with everything. So when he said this is a good thing to go, I went. So basically, I I know I've been in crypto a long long time, and I've had many failures and this and that. And when I looked into this project and knowing what was coming forward, months ago, about metaverse and being someone who's been staking and doing things on the DeFi space for a long time, I saw I saw something. I saw something amazing. And I wasn't sure if you guys could do this, but as we spent time together in and daily AMAs are really incredible. If you ever get to hear Captain actually geek out, is what I call it. It's amazing because there's things that he thinks we don't understand, but some of us really do, or it actually opens our eyes up to what's really going on down the road. I I I, I just think that virtual reality, because I come from being a live sound engineer and all this, so what EJ's doing combined with what Meta Captain's doing, it's like everything keeps coming together. Nobility was about gaming and other things, and that I've seen grown here in Vegas because we're building arenas for this stuff. So virtual reality is around me everywhere, and I get to see CES every year. So I got to witness how much it's taken over everything. So yeah, I just believe in the project. There's just and I believe in you. So that's what makes it easier. But yeah, look, everything's going this direction, whether you believe it or not. We've got Adidas and large brands coming into this space, whether it's through NFTs or just crypto. Uh, Everything is going to be, everybody thinks NFT, this, that, that's already old. It's now virtual reality, AR, metaverse. And even that's going to get old because what it all comes back to is always DeFi. Thank you.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Love the answer. I know, I know you didn't mean this whenever you're talking about the arenas, but I just, since you mentioned it, I have to say this. Has anybody actually seen Arena play VR? And like what I mean by that is, so they set up like space, like a basketball court, right? The size of the basketball court, and then the game itself, the level that you're playing on, is actually scaled to that exact size. So you're then able to completely like run around and play within that space as if it was that virtual space. It didn't take off and it's not as popular as I was like hoping it was gonna be, but it was the closest thing to like Starship Troopers I'd ever seen in my life, and it was cool. it was like whenever I first saw those arena drone racing, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be the next big sport. It's not, but I loved it. Uh, Anyways, so I'm gonna switch up the question. Let's go with like a hardball side of this. What has been the biggest disappointment from MetaBUSD coin so far? What is like the one thing that you've been let down with so far that you would like to see improved upon? Can anybody give me an answer? I don't want to have to call on somebody. Can somebody just name one off for me? Because I know there's got to be something, like if there's one key thing that so far that you wish was improved upon, what is that thing?
To be honest, it's not your problem. It's a problem in the space, and it's people trying to just make a quick buck and not really looking into the project itself. So I can't blame you for that. I blame what's going on, especially in a bear market, because people are just thinking, oh, I can jump in, jump out, do this. And yeah, you can. But when you find a good project and you do that and you risk, the potential of them never getting off the ground, you're not thinking about, crypto as a whole, because if you ruin good projects, you're going to get more rug pulls, more this, you gotta be careful. So, but
Well, well,
I really don't find too much fault other than maybe, stop if your microphone don't work, figure something else out.
I will say this much. I said early on a really early AMA, somebody asked me like, how far could this price fall, and you still be okay with continuing the project going? And I said then, and said numerous times, like on Twitter, and I want this to be clear, not just for MetaBUSD coin. You need to take this attitude with anything that you're invested in, um, especially in like the startup BSC space. Obviously, once you get to certain other levels of a project, you do have to have a capital for of some sort. But when you're working in the space that we're working in, you're working with a startup company. Um, I personally am a strong believer, and this is not to FUD on another single project that's out there. I'm not trying to do that at all. But I am a firm believer that you should invest in a project that you know can and will continue to function and operate even without that continued investor floor or volume. And what I mean by that is that investor money shouldn't be what is fueling the actual development production. So while investor money, large volume, and hype definitely helps facilitate things moving faster, core goals of development and utility and use case need to always be handled and hit within the internal project's finance economy. If they can't do that, you should really question whether or not your money is safe. Because theoretically, depending on anything that happened in the market, if you still believed in the project and the team, and they were still maintaining their goals and still pushing development forward every step of the way, it doesn't matter what team or what project it is. If they're just filling that for you, then theoretically, in time, everything should be okay and should shake out.
I
If
just want
the
to
if it's like a true project and if they have like actual goals.
I just want to interject and say that that's why it's so similar. And I think it was Works that it said about being like in engineering, like you get that concept so often in entertainment because you see whether it's an event planner or a festival or especially an artist. And if you truly believe in what they're producing, their character, who they are as a human, and what they're doing, you support them. And it's never ideal, the timeline, especially in music, to see an artist that like is really, really talented or works their butt off and they're on the road all the time. It can take decades sometimes. I don't think it'll take that long in the crypto space, obviously, but like some of these guys bust their butts for so long. And then you see that they finally end up reaching that epitome because they worked so hard and they were the talent that they were 10 years ago, but it just took the rest of the world 10 years to catch up.
Hey, Chris,
Yes,
can I
sir.
ask a couple questions?
Yeah, man. Ask whatever you need.
Okay, first question is in regards to MetaBUSD, is there any capabilities, plans, consideration for augmented reality?
Very limited. So we have augmented. We plan on having an augmented reality viewer built into our MetaBUSD app that will allow you to view your NFTs through augmented reality. I'm not even going to stretch this anything other than it's primarily just to allow like outside members of the community that have phones but don't have headsets to somewhat participate within the ecosystem. We don't have large plans built around that whatsoever. At some point, I do hope that we might be able to partner with some other projects that are working on some other augmented reality games. I have been in talks with these guys. I can't make any announcement there. If anybody is aware of like the top augmented reality game crypto space, then you probably know who I'm talking about. But we haven't closed anything out yet. Our development is like primarily solely based within the VR setting. Again, we will have the viewer available within the app, but that's more of like just a participation event thing.
My second question is, what about the consideration? Let's say you think of Cartoon Network, for example. Cartoon Network has an umbrella of different TV shows. And when I think of VR chat, I kind of think about where MetaBUSD is sort of going. I like the fact that MetaBUSD is not restricting itself to a plot of land. You know, when you look at Decentraland or you look at Sandbox, a lot of these projects, oftentimes it's very restrictive in the space that you can move in. Sandboxed a little bit differently. But the fact that you have different spaces you could go to that could be dedicated, have you considered possibly reaching out or establishing partnerships with these networks that have these various shows? And then maybe each one of those shows has its own server space that's dedicated. People could go and participate and spend their cryptocurrency, whether it's MetaBUSD or some other partnership with something like that.
Yes, we do. We actually already have some of that like facilitated. So there's multiple platforms, one of them being Tubi, that allow like for just free viewing of certain titles if you include their ad revenue and their ad placements. So we have considered like easy options like that just to facilitate quick lounge spaces for entertainment purposes. As well, we are in like really early talks with some other like more premium services that do not include any ad revenue.
Thank you. Those were my two primary questions. And the main reason why I actually popped in here.
Oh, very cool. Well, thank you for asking those questions. Yeah, I mean, we're always trying to, because I don't want people, a lot of people think that I'm building a game, and I'm not building a game. I'm building a lobby that gives you access to experiences. I'll have games developed in-house that are available in this lobby, but even then, when I say I have games developed, we're talking about like ping pong tables, air hockey, claw machines, skee ball. We're talking about things that are interactive. As well, we're going to include an arcade machine that will allow you to play a 2D interface game. It's a simple flash arcade game. This game will be available to the general public through a browser as well as their phone, but it is going to be built within the space. That game will. Sorry, what?
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I thought you were
No,
done.
you're good. Oh, I was saying that game will be rewarded. So like weekly or yeah, weekly we'll pay out MBC to the top leaderboard participants, and then as well a larger monthly prize to like the person who dominated the top space the most amount of time.
I just had a crazy idea. And I want to know about how conventional this idea is. what about the potential of, let's say you do a PowerPoint presentation, right? We're working in a direction where a lot of businesses are looking to the metaverse to being able to house these business meetings. Could there be some sort of a functionality built out where they could essentially import their PowerPoint presentation into this space and they could then demo it on this virtual TV screen? But the key, but hold on, the key thing that I want to point out here, could they include somehow in the PowerPoint presentation certain elements so that when it gets to that, there's a marketplace toolbox of things that can be virtually displayed inside the metaverse, like a rock or other significant objects that are helping to demo the presentation itself. And these are objects that could have been established and created by MetaBUSD themselves. So, like, for example, if Toyota was talking about something and then during part of their presentation, they wanted to talk about factories, there would be a virtual representation because of the presentation itself in the slideshow of a factory that shows up. And the next slide would talk about something with cars, and you would have a picture of a virtual truck that shows up. Is that something that could actually be built in?
Absolutely. So that's the actual bread and butter true revenue generator for MetaBUSD coin. I get caught up a lot in like the talking about everything else that's like, all partnerships and branding, stuff like that. But as far as like a revenue generator that actually rewards the holders and increases our volume and price and stuff like that, that's where it really comes from. If you look at VR chat and how their system is set up, we're essentially cloning their exact system and allowing it to be purchasable through crypto or fiat. And the way it works is we build our assets, and these are 3D models as well as embeds. Some of these embeds are your typical HTML, Java, or just your typical embeds that you already experience within the world of VR and web space, as well as including all of our React uh, and Web3 embeds too. Access to some of these will be premium content. So you'll have to pay to get access to some of these embeds as well as assets. And if it's an asset that's not available within the space and you need it developed, of course, us and our team will be able to do that for you at a fee, as well as import any assets that you currently have. So, like you mentioned, the car companies, and this is an exciting one that I talk about all the time because I'm sure right now, if any of you have been shopping for a car recently, then you already know that if you go onto the car dealership's website, you choose the car you want, you get that amazing option to give those 360-degree views. Well, having that and having that modeling already available, because that's what they do. It's not an actual car. That's a 3D model that they've made. It looks really nice and like it's supreme and it looks amazing, but it's not actually pictures compiled together. It's literally a 3D model that's just really highly detailed. So having that available already from all those car manufacturers is fantastic because you could literally include a car dealership in the space and allow somebody to purchase that car, do that transaction on chain. Or in like a sales pitch meeting or something like that, they could introduce the car to the public right then and there, do the reveal in VR. But yeah, a lot of exciting stuff going on, like directly around that. Um, it's also one of the more time consuming parts of development. So like right now, that's kind of like where we are with our VR stuff. We're kind of like trudging through the mud of building more and more assets. I have a meeting pretty early tomorrow morning with the VR dev going over all the asset builds that we have now, just kind of doing like a general project review on them to get an idea of when we will be opening up like our first spaces. It should be very, very soon. But then like our very first spaces that we open up, not just in our own lobby, but as well within VR chat, everything that you see as the end user will actually be owned by our team. So every item of furniture, every like tile on the wall, even every single item that you see is developed in house by us. Um, and these are assets that we will be able to port over into all of our different spaces and provide that availability for anybody. Sorry, does anybody else have any other questions? I feel like I've been talking for so long. I'm so sorry.
That was it for me. Thank you guys so much.
Awesome.
So I actually have an NFT question.
Cool.
Okay, so you said earlier that when you're going to mint the NFT, you'll have the option to see it before you actually hit the mint. And I've never experienced that with any other minting. So how exactly is that going to work?
You've never had a preview option on your mint?
I'm very new in the NFT world.
I haven't even had a preview option on my mint. I'm intrigued a little bit, but what is it like? Swipe left, swipe right?
No, so sadly, it's actually worse than that, and I don't have to include it, but because there is one problem that I thought about. I thought about what if it land, what if, because the way it works is you have your counter and like you'll be able to hover over it and have the option to view it before you make your purchase. And I'll show all like because all of you guys in here are mods, so you all will see this before the public does, and we can talk about whether or not we want to turn that off or something like that. But the option would be that you would actually preview what the mint will look like, and then you can decide whether or not you want to make that purchase. That being said, I did think about how that would possibly like stop a chain of buying. What if you landed on one that was just like not prime? Nobody just seemed to want it, and then just you just got stuck on there for like 2 hours or a couple days. Like nobody was buying it, so then I had to go and buy it so I can get that moving again. But no, I don't know. Again, that's something that we can talk about internally. But yeah, that's the way it would work. So you would just like hover over it. It will show you what the next mint in line looks like because it's already declared by the values preset. It's a little bit interesting contract, but so you would be able to view it, choose whether or not you want to mint it, and then claim it, or just send it to you. Sorry. Anyways, somebody else asked earlier, what would the marketplace look like? And I do not have a marketplace built and do not plan on building one outside of VR. So, that being said, you could sell these NFTs on any NFT marketplace that accepts Binance Smart Chain. Off the top of my head, the one that I always name to people is Binance NFT Marketplace. That's the one that like I'm fully aware of and that I'm familiar with. There are many, many marketplaces that you can choose from, and I'm certain these will end up being on multiple marketplaces. I might even place some different places just to see the traction gain on them, or if it does or does not. Just experiment.
Does OpenSea support Binance?
Man, that is like the question that I hate because every time I ask the question and I go to Google, like, so do they support it now? I get so many press articles that talk about how they are supporting it, but I do not think they do. Crypto Miner might be able to answer that better for me.
So I was helping my daughter for a sec. I missed part of it, but OpenSea, is that what we were talking about?
Yeah, do they
OpenSea supports Binance NFTs?
I'm not sure. I know NFT Key does, which is major with Phantom, AVAX, Polygon, and BSC, and they have rarity rankings. Really good. It's where I pretty much list and buy most of my Phantom NFT.
Dude, it might even be a good move to just like, at least in the interim, when I've been looking for like a good NFT guidance person that could help me like kind of walk this space, and you haven't even volunteered. What a douchebag. But no, actually, I should just pay you to help me walk through this NFT space a little bit. Because like as far as technicality, I know all that obviously,
I
but
think
as far as what people want and how to like actually hype them and move them, I definitely need a little bit of help there.
yeah, I've been dabbling a bit. I know a few people in the space. So yeah, when I got time, I'm always open to help, even for nothing. So that's what's funny about me. But we'll always accept tips. Anyway.
Hey, EJ, what do I always say? I'll never say no to beans. Like,
I just
No,
want,
but it's the truth.
it's just we all want to make money, and but crypto to me is a passion. It's funny. So and NFTs, I used to laugh at them too, but they have purpose, and and when you find a purpose, it's cool, and art is cool. So like some things are just art, and when you combine that, and you combine art and utility, you're taking crypto to the space that it should be, where they're inviting more people to it through other items. And and EJ does it for his artists, and NFTs. What it's done is given smaller artists this ability to enter and sell their art at a reasonable cost, and for small fees. I mean, some of these places, and this is even if OpenSea would list your stuff, you're going to pay so much in fees, and that's what I don't like about the larger NFT space. Is ETH is gas, and then you're paying massive fees on these marketplaces. So
that makes
it
sense.
doesn't go to the artist. And when you go over to some of these smaller chains, Phantom or Polygon, and those, the way the markets are set up over there, it gives back more to the artist on top of the royalty. So, there's a lot going on, and it's become a much better place than it was. So, and there's a much better future in it. So,
All right. I don't know. How long have we been going? We've been going for a while. Does anybody want to do any? Oh, you know what? I should do a plug. Um, Noodles. Noodles. I don't know your official name, Noodles, but
Noodles is the man.
yeah, Noodles is the man. Like, thank you so much, Noodles. You just always come through so fast and take care of things so quick. Nature Provider is in the chat right now. He answered our question. OpenSea is definitely only E. They are slacking on the BSC. I swear on my life, I've seen official press releases from them from like months back where they're like, "Oh, we're definitely going to support it any day now." Anyways, but yeah, so they're only ETH guys. Again, I'm like pretty sure I knew that, and that's why I always reference Binance NFT marketplace. And the reason why I also reference that, as far as the BSC network goes, I don't know if I've seen in recent times another successful NFT line like Pancake Swaps. Pancake Swaps is like the only BSC line that I could think of that literally sold out like instantly as soon as it became available. So that I think set like the new standard of what you want to try to achieve. And they did all of that through the Binance and NFT marketplace. So that's why I know about it, and that's why I always reference it. Anyways, Noodles, love you. Does anybody else want to do a plug or give a shout out for anything? Come on. Dustin, I'll just shout out your daughter for hooking up all them Girl Scout cookies.
we'll give a shout out to Dustin. Talk about one of the hardest working people I've seen behind the scenes that maybe people don't even realize.
Honestly, that man does a lot. There's a lot of my team members. I was just talking to somebody else about it. Like, I feel like Nick, the co-founder, I feel like he doesn't get nearly as much credit for what he does. Like I've mentioned this before, I don't like I don't run the Twitter. Like that's 100% Nick. So like I don't even go on Twitter, stay on Twitter. Many of you know I don't go into TG ever. Like that's him who handles all those communities, stays on top of that stuff, and as well after like I do my little like talking and my like, hey, I'm Meta Captain. After that part happens and people are like, oh, we want to work with you, he then handles like the other stuff that's like all important. I just do like the introduction part and then like the development work that a lot of people don't know, but it's just a clever trick that I know or something. You know what I mean? Like it's sometimes it's weird to think about because all my life, the stuff that I did just it made me nobody. And like it's so strange that now that like for some reason because I have these skills that just nobody ever cared for for so long. Uh, like now for some reason because of that, I am somehow somebody. And I don't know, it feels weird sometimes, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, the business structure behind everything that we do is not me. It's definitely my team. Um, I do a lot of talking and I do a lot of development work, but like Luca, he's my CFO. He handles all that stuff. And then Nick handles all the business relationships and actually keeping things like functioning and working and reminding me to do the things that I need to do in order to like meet our actual goals business wise and stuff. So big props to those guys. I love them. I love all you and the entire community. But long story short, want to make sure that those guys get some love and everybody knows. And Cody, come on, I always because I'm a douchebag, I always forget to mention Cody, but he's like an essential key member of our team. He is our artist, has done he slaved away doing all that artwork, and I dropped the ball on him getting these NFTs out later than they should have been out. So props to him for keeping up his end of the deal. Sorry I haven't kept up my end. I'll get them out here in just a few days, and we'll move forward right on past this first line. Alrighty. Thank you guys all very much. If anybody else has anything to say, I'll give you a moment. If not, I'm going to go ahead and end this broadcast. I think.